The massive human vessel Dauntless drifted through the emptiness of space, its kilometer-long hull bristling with sensor arrays and communication equipment. The ship's dark metal exterior reflected little light, giving it a predatory appearance against the backdrop of distant stars. Though officially classified as a diplomatic vessel, its design drew heavily from military architecture. Thick armor plating, reinforced bulkheads, and unmistakable weapon ports that remained sealed but visible. Captain Ju Park stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she gazed at the main view screen. Around her, the crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. The atmosphere was tense but controlled. After decades of searching the cosmos for intelligent life, humanity had finally received a response. "Status report," Park said, her voice calm despite the historical weight of the moment. Lieutenant Mina Kang looked up from her console. "All systems nominal, Captain. First contact protocols loaded. Translation matrix standing by." "Good," Park nodded. "And the diplomatic team?" "Ambassador Jin and his staff are ready in Conference Room 1, reported Communications Officer Sunho Ryu. "They've reviewed all the preliminary data on the Varine." That data was admittedly sparse. The initial exchange had been simple, mathematical sequences followed by basic language constructs. Both civilizations had agreed to this meeting at neutral coordinates, a point exactly halfway between their respective territories. The Varine had shared little about themselves beyond peaceful intentions. "Tactical assessment?" Park asked. Security Chief Wu Jin Choi studied his displays. Defensive systems at standby. Shields at minimum power, just enough to deflect small debris. Weapons systems locked down as agreed. Park nodded again. She understood the precautions Earth Command had insisted upon. Humanity's emergence into the galactic community came with both hope and caution. The Dauntless represented both, a hand extended in friendship, but one attached to a very strong arm. "They're here," announced Sensor Officer Yoon Ju-song. The bridge crew fell silent as the view screen showed a ripple in space. 3 vessels emerge, flowing into normal space like liquid metal taking form. They looked nothing like human ships. Where the Dauntless was angular and solid, these vessels seemed almost organic, smooth curves that shifted slightly as they moved, surfaces that pulsed with soft blue-green light. They reminded Park of sea creatures, elegant and fluid. "Their design is remarkable," whispered Mena. "No visible propulsion systems. Their largest vessel is approximately 1/3 our size," Wu Jin reported. "The other 2 are smaller. No active weapons signatures detected, but their energy readings are unusual." Park straightened her uniform. "Open the communication channel." The view screen shifted to show the interior of the Varine ship. The alien that appeared had a vaguely humanoid shape. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But the similarities ended there. Its skin was iridescent, shifting between blue and green tones. 6 dark eyes blinked independently across a face that featured speaking membranes rather than a mouth. Behind it stood several other Varine, their postures suggesting a mixture of excitement and formality. The alien's membranes vibrated, producing sounds the translation system processed for several seconds. "Greetings from the Varine Confederation," the computer finally rendered in English. "I am First Emissary Dal. We come in peace and with." The transmission paused. The alien's eyes had widened, all 6 focusing simultaneously on something off-screen. Another Varine moved quickly to its side, gesturing at what Park assumed was their equivalent of a display terminal. The first emissary's skin darkened slightly, and when the translation resumed, the tone had changed. "We were not expecting such a vessel for peaceful discourse," the translator rendered. Park noted the shift immediately. The Varine were reacting to something they'd just learned about the Dauntless, likely a completed scan of its specifications. "First Emissary Dal," Park said, choosing her words carefully. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, we welcome you. The Dauntless serves as our diplomatic flagship, designed to demonstrate our technological achievements while carrying representatives of our world. We approached this historic meeting with peaceful intent and open minds. The Varine's membranes fluttered rapidly. The 6 eyes blinked in sequence, and Dal appeared to confer briefly with the others before responding. "We acknowledge your greeting, Captain Park. Perhaps it would be beneficial to proceed with our planned exchange aboard the neutral station. Our observers are interested in discussing your ship's unusual configuration." Park recognized diplomatic language when she heard it. The Varine were concerned about the Dauntless, but were being careful not to make accusations. "We look forward to the discussion," she replied. "Our ambassadorial team will prepare for transfer to the station." As the transmission ended, Park turned to her first officer. "It seems our ship has made quite an impression." "Not necessarily the one we intended," he replied quietly. Park gazed back at the alien vessels on the screen. "No first meeting goes perfectly as planned. Let's hope we can clear up any misunderstandings before they become problems." Retrice. The neutral station hung in space between the human vessel and the Varine flotilla. It was a simple structure, a large cylinder with docking ports at either end, built decades ago by automated construction drones. Neither side had ever used it before today. Captain Ju Park led her small delegation through the airlock. Ambassador Jin walked beside her, followed by Dr. Min Ji-hyun, their xenosociologist, and Lieutenant Woo Jin Choi as security. They wore their formal blue uniforms with the Earth United emblem, a simple globe surrounded by olive branches. "Remember," Ambassador Jin whispered as they approached the meeting chamber, "this is about building trust. Let me handle any difficult questions." The meeting room was sparse, a round table with chairs adjusted for both human and Varine physiology. The walls were transparent, offering a view of both their ships. The Dauntless loomed large in the viewport, its dark hull eclipsing distant stars. The Varine delegation was already seated. First Emissary Dal sat at the center, flanked by 4 others. Their iridescent skin shimmered under the station's lights. One Varine had attachments to its limbs that suggested artificial enhancements, perhaps a military or security advisor. "Welcome." Dal's speaking membranes vibrated, the translation coming through the human's earpieces with minimal delay. "We appreciate your willingness to meet on neutral ground." Ambassador Jin bowed slightly. "The pleasure is ours. This is a historic day for both our peoples." The initial exchanges went smoothly. Both sides shared basic information about their homeworlds, governmental structures, and cultural values. The Varine spoke of their confederation of 12 worlds, their focus on biological sciences, and their peaceful expansion through the sector over 3 centuries. But Park noticed the enhanced Varine kept manipulating a small device, occasionally showing something to Dal. The first emissary's eyes would blink rapidly each time, all 6 focusing in unison, a sign of concern, according to their briefing materials. During a pause while refreshments were brought in, water for the humans, a glowing blue liquid for the Varine, the enhanced alien placed a small projector on the table. It displayed a rotating schematic of the Dauntless. "Before we discuss cultural exchange programs," Dal said, "there is a matter of some concern." Ambassador Jin nodded encouragingly. "Please, speak freely." Dal's skin darkened slightly. "Your vessel bears all hallmarks of what our civilization would classify as a warship. Is this how humans approach new civilizations, with weapons primed?" The room fell silent. Jin looked to Park, recognizing this was now a military matter. Captain Park leaned forward. "First Emissary, the Dauntless is primarily a diplomatic vessel. It represents the best of human engineering and science, while we maintain defensive capabilities." "Defensive," the enhanced Varine interrupted, its translator rendering a higher pitch. "I am military advisor Nev. Our scans indicate enough firepower to destroy a moon." Dr. Hyun touched Park's arm gently. "May I?" she whispered. When Park nodded, Hyun addressed the Varine. "I believe we're experiencing a cultural misunderstanding," she said. "Humans evolved on a particularly dangerous world. Throughout our history, Even our merchants and explorers had to defend themselves. She gestured to the schematic. The Dauntless was designed to protect its crew in unknown territory. But humans never strike first. Our weapons remain inactive unless we're threatened. Nev's enhanced limb tapped rapidly on the table. Your ship carries 32 missile tubes, 6 particle beam emitters, and what appears to be a mass driver capable of accelerating projectiles to near light speed. This is beyond defensive. Ambassador Jin tried to redirect. Perhaps we could discuss technology sharing agreements that would. Why would you need such firepower for a diplomatic mission? Dal asked, cutting Jin off. Were you expecting to fight us? Captain Park straightened in her chair. No, but humanity has learned harsh lessons about being unprepared. Our first ventures into space were nearly our last. We lost an entire colony ship to a micrometeorite storm, another to system failure. We build redundancies now. We prepare for worst cases. Dal's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, including hostile alien contact. Including any threat, Park corrected. The weapons are a last resort. The Dauntless also carries the largest library of human knowledge ever assembled, hydroponic gardens growing plants from around Earth, art from every human culture. Yet your primary resource allocation went to weapons systems, Nev interjected. Dr. Hyun tried again. The Varine Confederation has existed for centuries. You've met other species, established peaceful protocols. Humans are new to the galactic community. We're cautious. Caution is understandable, Dal said. This level of militarization suggests paranoia or aggression. The meeting deteriorated from there. What was meant to be a 6-hour initial contact was cut to 90 minutes. As the human delegation returned to their shuttle, Ambassador Jin didn't hide his frustration. That could have gone better, he muttered. Park watched through the viewport as the Varine departed in their own shuttle. They're afraid of us. Yes, Dr. Hyun said quietly. And the most dangerous thing in any first contact situation is fear. The Dauntless hung motionless in space, its engines idle. Inside, the mood had shifted dramatically from the hopeful anticipation of first contact to the tense vigilance of a potential conflict. Captain Park hadn't left the bridge in 16 hours, subsisting on coffee and protein bars as she monitored the rapidly evolving situation. Another ship just dropped out of FTL, announced Lieutenant Taho Kim, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Bekarin design, heavy cruiser class. That makes 23 vessels now forming the perimeter. Park moved to his station and studied the holographic projection. The Dauntless sat at the center, surrounded by a growing shell of alien ships. Some she recognized from the limited database they had received from the Varine. Sleek Nardasi patrol crafts, bulky Igulan transports retrofitted with weapon mounts. Others were completely unknown. Their positioning as if we're about to attack, Kim said quietly. Classical containment formation. Any direction we move, at least 4 ships can intercept. Communications officer Sunho Ryo turned from his console. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from 6 different species requesting detailed schematics of all human vessels. They're specifically asking about our weapons capabilities, FTL drive specifications, and fleet numbers. Park rubbed her temples. Decline politely. Site security protocols. That will only increase their suspicions, Dr. Hyun said from the science station, where she had been monitoring communications between the alien vessels. So we'll handing over our military specifications to species we just met, Park countered. She turned to her first officer. Status of our communication link with Earth Command. Quantum entanglement communicator is stable. We've been sending hourly updates, he replied. Their last transmission indicated they're debating whether to send reinforcements. Park's expression darkened. Tell Commander Lee that under no circumstances should additional ships be dispatched. That would be the worst possible move right now. On Earth, 12 light-years away, Commander Do-Yum Lee paced the floor of the Crisis Response Center. The massive underground facility beneath Seoul was filled with military and diplomatic personnel reviewing data from the Dauntless. The situation is deteriorating. Admiral Junsu Kang stated flatly. The Dauntless is surrounded by potentially hostile vessels. We should dispatch the Second Fleet to show strength and confirm their fears that we're an aggressive species. Foreign Minister Suman Yoon countered. We're talking about Earth's first impression on a galactic community that's been established for centuries. Commander Lee stopped pacing. The Dauntless was designed to handle first contact alone precisely to avoid appearing aggressive. Sending a fleet now would undo that completely. Back on the Dauntless, Captain Park had ordered a ship-wide emergency briefing. Senior staff gathered in the main conference room while other personnel watched from their stations. The captain stood before a display showing the increasing number of ships around them. I need everyone to understand our situation, Park began. What started as a diplomatic mission has evolved into a potential standoff. The Varine and their allies perceive us as a threat. Dr. Hyun stepped forward. I've analyzed communications between the alien vessels. There's a growing consensus that humans represent a previously unknown militaristic species that has somehow developed in isolation. They're comparing our technology level to our apparent aggression and finding the combination alarming. Lieutenant Kim projected a comparison between the Dauntless and a typical Varian diplomatic vessel. The difference was stark. The alien ship had minimal defensive capabilities and completely open architecture, with most of its systems visible through transparent hull sections. We built the Dauntless to protect ourselves, Dr. Hyun explained. With thick armor, hidden compartments, and powerful weapons systems. But to them, we look like conquerors arriving with weapons displayed. It's like showing up to a peace conference wearing battle armor and carrying a loaded gun. So what do we do? Asked the ship's engineer, Shunho Ba. We can't exactly rebuild our ship. Captain Park studied the tactical display. No, but we can demonstrate our intentions through actions. Lieutenant Ryu, open a channel to the Varine flagship. When first emissary Dal's face appeared on screen, Park didn't wait for the formalities. We understand your concerns, she said firmly. To demonstrate our peaceful intentions, we're powering down our weapons systems and opening our sensor arrays for detailed inspection. Additionally, we invite representatives from your confederation to tour non-restricted areas of our vessel. Dal's 6 eyes blinked in surprise. This is unexpected, Captain. Furthermore, Park continued, we request permission to send a small team to visit one of your ships in return. A cultural exchange, if you will. Let us begin building trust through transparency. There was a long pause as Dal conferred with others off-screen. The tension on the bridge was palpable. We accept your proposal, Dal finally replied. But be aware that many species remain concerned. The Coalition of Independent Systems has specifically requested a formal hearing regarding humanity's intentions in this sector. After the transmission ended, Dr. Hyun approached Park privately. That bought us some time, she said, but we're still walking on extremely thin ice. Park nodded grimly. Better than drowning beneath it. Now we just need to hope Earth Command doesn't decide to help by sending reinforcements. 3 days had passed since the Dauntless opened its doors to alien visitors. The tension had eased slightly, but most of the alien vessels maintained their defensive positions. Captain Park had established a fragile dialogue with several species, though progress remained slow. Trust would take time to build. Lieutenant Kim's voice broke the relative quiet of the bridge. Captain, I'm detecting weapons fire at coordinates 227 Mark 43, approximately 2 million kilometers from our position. Park straightened in her command chair. On screen, the main view screen shifted to show a distant engagement. A small Varian vessel was under attack by 3 ships of unfamiliar design. Their weapons cut through the Varian's minimal shields, leaving scorch marks across its hull. Analysis, Park demanded. The Varian ship appears to be a science vessel, reported Kim. Minimal defensive capabilities. The attacking ships match no known signatures in our database, but their attack pattern suggests piracy rather than military action. Communications Officer Ryu touched his earpiece. Captain, we're receiving a distress call from the Varian vessel. 17 scientists on board, critical systems failing. Park didn't hesitate. Plot and intercept course. Maximum thrust. Alert medical to prepare for possible Varine casualties. Her first officer leaned close. "Captain, this could be a trap. Or it could be exactly what it looks like," Park replied. "Either way, we can't ignore a distress call. Tactical, prepare defensive shields but hold weapons in standby. I want electromagnetic pulse systems ready, but nothing lethal." The Dauntless surged forward, its massive engines pushing it toward the conflict at tremendous speed. The alien vessels maintaining the perimeter around them scrambled in response, some moving to follow. "They think we're making a break for it," Kim observed. "Let them think what they want," Park said. "Our priority is that science vessel." Within minutes, the Dauntless approached the engagement zone. The pirate vessels, seeing the massive human ship bearing down on them, broke off their attack on the Varine but turned their weapons toward the newcomer. "They're targeting us," Kim reported. "Energy weapons charging." "Deploy defensive shields around the Varine vessel first," Park ordered. "Then around us." The Dauntless executed the maneuver perfectly. A shimmering energy field extended from the human ship, enveloping the damaged Varine vessel before expanding to protect the Dauntless itself. The pirates' first volley splashed harmlessly against the shields. "We are being hailed by the lead pirate ship," Ryo announced. "Ignore them," Park said. "Prepare EMP targeting. I want precision strikes to disable their engines and weapons without destroying the vessels." "Target solutions ready," Kim confirmed. "Fire." The Dauntless released 3 precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses. Each struck its target with surgical accuracy. The pirate ships didn't explode or break apart. Instead, their lights flickered and died as their electrical systems overloaded. "All 3 vessels disabled," Kim reported. "Their life support systems remain functional, but weapons, engines, and shields are offline." Park nodded with satisfaction. "Contact the Varine Confederation. Inform them of the situation and request assistance in detaining these pirates, and prepare a medical team to transport to the science vessel." What happened next surprised everyone. The lead Varine scientist, despite the damage to their ship, requested permission to board the Dauntless instead. An hour later, Captain Park greeted the Varine science team in the main docking bay. Their leader, Chief Researcher Ven, approached on unsteady legs, still affected by the attack. "You have our profound gratitude, Captain Park," Ven said, the 6 eyes blinking in what Dr. Hyun had identified as a gesture of respect. "Our research mission would have ended in tragedy without your intervention." "We're glad we could help," Park replied. "Our medical team is ready to assist any injured crew members." "What interests me more," Ven said, "is seeing the interior of this remarkable vessel that has caused such concern among our people." Park exchanged glances with Dr. Hyun, who nodded encouragingly. "Then allow us to give you a tour," Park said. They guided the Varine scientists through the Dauntless, showing them not the weapons systems or defense grids, but the vast hydroponics bays where plants from Earth grew in carefully maintained environments. They visited the cultural archive, where art, music, and literature from thousands of human civilizations were preserved. They toured the scientific laboratories, where researchers studied everything from quantum physics to xenobiology. In the main research facility, Chief Researcher Ven stopped before a massive DNA sequencer. "This technology, it's for medical research, not weapons development," Ven observed. "Of course," Dr. Hyun replied. "Nearly 60% of the Dauntless is dedicated to scientific and cultural pursuits. The defensive systems occupy less than 15% of our ship's resources." Ven's membranes vibrated thoughtfully. "Yet your weapons could have destroyed those pirate vessels completely. You possess such destructive potential," the lead scientist observed to Dr. Hyun. "Yet you choose restraint." Dr. Hyun smiled. "That's what humans do. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Our history taught us to be cautious, but our values teach us to be kind." Then turned to Captain Park. "I believe I may have misjudged your species, Captain. Perhaps many of us have. Understanding takes time, Park replied. We're willing to wait. Back aboard the Dauntless, Park reviewed the transmission with her senior staff. Earth Command is pleased with our diplomatic success, she informed them. They've assigned us a new mission. The Dauntless will lead a joint human-alien expedition into the uncharted regions beyond the city sector. Dr. Hyun looked surprised. They're keeping us out here rather than bringing us home for a hero's welcome. We've established rapport with several species, Park explained. Command believes we're best positioned to continue building these relationships. Lieutenant Kim studied the mission parameters. 5 alien vessels will join us. Vereen, Nardasi, Legolan, Teleran, and Bekaran, each bringing their own scientific and exploration expertise. And we bring the big guns, Engineer Bai added with a small smile. Park shook her head. We bring protection. There's a difference, one that took time for our new allies to understand. From the viewport, Park could see the massive space dock where the Dauntless was undergoing modifications. Vereen and Teleran engineers were installing new sensor technology that would enhance the ship's scientific capabilities. Meanwhile, human technicians were sharing reinforced hull designs with the aliens. The imposing silhouette of the Dauntless, once viewed with alarm, now represented something different, a shield behind which cooperation and discovery could safely flourish. It's fitting, Dr. Hyun remarked, standing beside Park at the viewport. Our first encounter began with misunderstanding, but ended with each side recognizing the value in the other's approach. Park nodded. Fear gave way to understanding, and caution evolved into protection for all. Hyun added. Park smiled as she watched the joint teams working on the ship's exterior. Perhaps that's humanity's contribution to the galaxy, not just our science or our art, but our instinct to build walls strong enough that we can safely open doors within them. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. As the Vereen scientists continued their tour, First Officer Hanjin received a message from Lieutenant Kim. Captain, he whispered to Park, several of the ships that were surrounding us have broken formation and moved away. Park nodded slightly. It's a start. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council stretched before Captain Ju Park, its ceiling arching high overhead in a dome of transparent material that revealed the star-filled void beyond. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations sat in tiered seating arranged in a perfect circle. Each species had their own section, modified to suit their particular biology. Some required water tanks, others specialized atmospheric chambers. The diversity was breathtaking. 6 months had passed since the pirate incident. 6 months of careful diplomacy, cultural exchanges, and gradually building trust. The Dauntless had remained in this sector, hosting delegations from curious species and sending small teams of humans to visit alien worlds in return. Slowly, the defensive perimeter of ships had dispersed. Suspicion had given way to cautious interest, and finally to genuine cooperation. Park walked alongside First Emissary Dal toward the central speaking platform. She wore her formal dress uniform, adorned with the new insignia of Earth's diplomatic corps, a modification of the military design that emphasized peaceful exchange. Dal wore ceremonial Vereen attire, flowing garments that amplified the iridescent quality of their skin. Nervous? Dal asked through the translator. A little, Park admitted. There are more aliens in this room than humans have met in our entire history. Yet you appear calm, Dal observed. Another human trait, hiding your feelings. We call it composure, Park replied with a small smile. Useful in diplomacy. When they reached the central platform, the chamber quieted. The council elder, a being from one of the oldest spacefaring races, the Telerans, raised 4 of its 6 limbs in a formal greeting. Today marks a historic occasion. The elder's voice resonated through the chamber's perfect acoustics. The official welcome of humanity into the Galactic Council. First Emissary Dal of the Vereen Confederation will speak, followed by Captain Ju Park of Earth. Dal stepped forward, speaking membranes vibrating. Esteemed colleagues, the path to this moment was not smooth. Our first impressions of humans were shaped by fear. We saw their powerful vessels and assumed conquest was their intention. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Many delegates had harbored similar concerns. In our many centuries of space exploration, Dal continued, we encountered species who approached with open hulls, transparent intentions, and minimal defenses. Humans came differently, in ships that reflected their evolutionary path as survivors of a challenging world. We misunderstood their caution for aggression. Dal gestured to Park. But when our scientists faced destruction at the hands of pirates, it was the humans who demonstrated the true purpose of their strength, not to conquer, but to protect. Park stepped forward as Dal finished. She gazed around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from worlds humans hadn't even known existed 1 year ago. Honorable members of the Council, she began, humanity thanks you for this welcome, and we have learned that our caution appeared as aggression. Our ship, the Dauntless, was built to withstand unknown dangers because our limited experience made us wary. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Humans build strong walls not because we want to shut others out, but because we want to be safe enough to open our doors with confidence. The elder raised a limb in acknowledgement. Both perspectives have value. The Council has noted that human engineering, while initially concerning, offers unique defensive capabilities that could benefit many worlds, particularly those in regions troubled by piracy. Similarly, the openness and transparency of Vereen and allied designs offer humans new approaches to shipbuilding. The formal declaration of membership followed, with representatives from each civilization adding their voice in approval. Earth was officially recognized as the 18th member of the Galactic Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. As the ceremony concluded, Captain Park's communication device chimed softly. Lieutenant Kim's voice came through her earpiece. Captain, we've received new orders from Earth Command. Priority 1. I'll be there shortly, Park replied, excusing herself from the reception that had begun around the chamber's perimeter.